Assistant drops ultrasound in front of her billionaire CEO, but when he sees the date on it, he's speechless. He was the kind of man who didn't flinch at billion-dollar contracts. But one ultrasound and one date was enough to tear his entire world apart. Before we continue, if you enjoy touching and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Now let's get back to the story. Sophia Lane's hands trembled as they reached for the scattered papers on the cold marble floor. "No, no, no," she whispered under her breath, her heart pounding louder than the chaos erupting in the boardroom behind her. All she'd meant to do was deliver a revised quarterly report. That was it, in and out, as invisible as always. But in her rush, the unsealed envelope she'd tucked into the folder, the one she'd meant to take home and hide forever, slipped loose and glided like a cursed feather to the floor, right at Damien Cole's feet. He didn't bend down to pick it up, he just stared, as if the entire world had narrowed into that single square of glossy paper now lying face up between them. An ultrasound, black and white, 12 weeks. His jaw clenched, then loosened, like he'd just been hit with something too big to register. The silence stretched. So did the knot in her stomach. "Is this a joke?" Damien asked finally, his voice sharp, too calm. Sophia froze. "It's not." Her voice cracked. She cleared her throat. "It wasn't supposed to be here." He crouched, picked it up slowly, eyes flicking from the image to the date printed in the corner. 3 months ago. He looked up at her, not angry, but something worse. Shocked. "You're pregnant?" She opened her mouth, but before words came out, the glass boardroom door swung open. "Damien," barked Marcus Lang, the CFO, with a folder in hand, oblivious to the tension. "We need to—" Marcus stopped mid-sentence when he noticed the sonogram in Damien's hand. The world seemed to pause. Damien didn't blink. "Cancel the meeting." "Cancel?" Marcus frowned. "But now—" The door shut again, and the silence returned like a wave, swallowing her whole. Sophia reached for the paper. "Give it back." "Why didn't you tell me?" Her fingers grazed his, but he didn't let go. "Because it's not yours," she whispered. That made him laugh, but not the charming, amused kind. It was sharp, disbelieving. "You're telling me someone else got you pregnant 8 weeks ago?" She looked away. "I didn't say that." "Then who?" "I don't owe you anything, Damien." "You're carrying a child," he growled. "And based on the date, it's not yours?" "Liar." The word hit like a slap, and she flinched. His face darkened, but the anger wasn't entirely aimed at her. It was twisted, confused, like he was seeing a version of her he didn't know existed. She snatched the ultrasound from his hand and turned to leave. But he followed. "You think you can walk out of here and I'll forget this?" "No," she said, not turning around. "I was praying you'd never find out." That stopped him cold. In the elevator, her reflection trembled beside his in the mirrored walls. Both beautiful, both broken. But only one of them was trying to hold everything together. "You don't get to just vanish," he said quietly. "I didn't vanish. I'm here every day, on time, doing everything you ask." "That's not what I meant." She finally turned to look at him. "Then say what you mean, for once." "I should have called you that night," he muttered. "I shouldn't have walked out." "Oh, you mean the night you told me our kiss meant nothing?" she snapped, voice rising with each word. "That I was just another assistant getting ideas?" He looked away, jaw tight. "I meant what I said," he replied. "Then congratulations. You're officially off the hook." The elevator dinged. She walked out. He didn't follow. 3 hours later, Sophia sat in the tiny employee break room, holding a cup of peppermint tea she hadn't sipped once. Her fingers shook too much. Her best friend and co-worker, Layla, slid into the chair across from her, holding a half-eaten granola bar like it was a lifeline. "So," Lila said slowly, "how's your day going on a scale from mild heartburn to I accidentally exposed my deepest secret to the most emotionally unavailable man in the building?" Sophia blinked. Lila raised an eyebrow. Wait, what happened? Sophia handed her the tea. You're going to need this more than I do. Lila took a long sip and stared at her like she was trying to solve a crime scene. Tell me, everything. Sophia leaned in, her voice low. He saw the ultrasound. Lila nearly choked. The one you swore you'd burn before anyone saw? It fell out of my folder, right in front of him. Girl? Lila grabbed her hand. We need to install a security system on your personal drama. Sophia let out a tiny laugh, the first in what felt like weeks. He thinks it's his. Is it? Sophia stayed quiet. Oh my God. Lila's eyes widened. Sophia! I don't want his pity or his money. I was going to raise the baby alone. You still might, but you can't raise it in secrecy now. Sophia exhaled. I just wanted peace, a quiet life, away from all this. You work for a billionaire CEO. Peace was never on the menu. They both laughed. For a moment it was almost normal again. Then her phone buzzed. One new message. From Damian Cole. Come to my penthouse. Tonight, 9 p.m. No excuses. Lila leaned over. Oh no, she whispered. That's not a text. That's a declaration of war. Sophia stared at the screen. Her heart said no, but her finger hovered over reply. 9:03 p.m. She stood in front of the black double doors of Damian's penthouse, hands ice cold despite the August heat. She raised her hand to knock, but the door swung open before she touched it. He stood there, shirt sleeves rolled, eyes unreadable. Then he stepped aside without a word. She walked in, and on the marble kitchen counter sat a second ultrasound, newer, clearer, one she'd never seen before. Sophia's breath caught. What is that? She whispered. Damian turned slowly, his voice low. Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. Sophia stared at the ultrasound on the counter like it might suddenly burst into flames and vanish. It was hers, and yet it wasn't. The date was only a week old, printed clearly in the top corner, 10 weeks and 5 days. Her last appointment had been over a month ago. Her mouth felt dry. Where did you get that? Damian leaned back against the kitchen island, arms crossed, watching her with the same intensity he used in boardrooms to gut competitors, without blinking. I have my ways, he said coolly. You hacked my OB-GYN. I didn't have to. His tone shifted, softer, and somehow worse. You really think I wouldn't check on you after what you dropped in my office? She looked down. I didn't drop it. It slipped. He gave a dry chuckle. Right. It just happened to slip out. Face up, right in front of me. Neatly timed. You think I planned that? I think you were scared and sloppy, he said bluntly. And now, I don't know what to believe. The hurt in her chest simmered beneath the heat of his accusation. I didn't come here to be interrogated. You came because I told you to. She narrowed her eyes. Exactly the kind of sentence that makes women regret dating men in suits. You never dated me. That made her flinch. Right, she said quietly. Just one night of poor judgment. His eyes darkened. That's not what it was. Could have fooled me. Silence. Then, in a rare moment of vulnerability, Damian exhaled and rubbed the back of his neck, something she'd only seen him do once before, the night he'd kissed her, and then walked away like it never happened. This changes everything, Sophia. She forced a laugh. No, it doesn't. You already made your feelings very clear. You don't do relationships. You don't do emotional attachments. You certainly don't do babies. That was before I knew the baby might be mine. Might? She echoed. You won't even say it out loud, he said, stepping closer, his voice low. Why are you still pretending it's not mine? She turned her face away, but he caught her chin gently, bringing her eyes back to his. And for a moment, everything froze. Just like the first time, their kiss had been a mistake, a slow, burning, alcohol-laced, rainy night mistake. But it hadn't felt like one. It had felt like something they were both too scared to admit they wanted. "I'm not pretending," she said softly. "I'm protecting." "Protecting who? Me?" His voice was quiet but sharp. "Or yourself?" Her lip trembled. "I'm protecting the baby." His jaw tensed. She pulled away, retreating to the edge of the room. "You don't know what it's like," she said, arms crossed, "to be 5 paychecks away from homelessness. To lie awake wondering if your kid will have shoes or food. I've seen your closet. One of your ties costs more than my rent." "This isn't about money." "Yes, it is," she snapped, "because money is power, and you have all of it, which means if you decide you want custody, I won't stand a chance." Damien went silent. Then calmly he walked over to a drawer, pulled out a manila folder, and handed it to her. She opened it hesitantly. Inside was a contract. Sophia blinked. "What is this?" "No lawyers, no threats, no PR team," Damien said, "just a promise." She read the top line, "I, Damien Cole, waive all parental claims. Rights and custodial authority, unless invited otherwise by Sophia Lane." Her hands trembled as she flipped the page. It was signed, dated, notarized. She looked up, stunned. "You had this prepared already?" He nodded once. "The second I saw the ultrasound." "You're giving me all the power?" "I'm offering you a choice," he said. "If you never want to see me again, I'll walk away, no questions, no lawyers, no press. And if I do want you around," he stepped forward, "then I'll be exactly where you need me, for the baby, and maybe for you too." Sophia swallowed hard. "I don't know what I need." "That's okay," he said gently. "I'll wait." The dam inside her cracked, but she forced herself to hold it together. She couldn't cry in front of him again, not tonight. Instead, she reached into her purse, pulled out her keys, and turned toward the door. "I need time." "I figured." She hesitated, hand on the doorknob, then glanced over her shoulder. "Why are you doing this, really?" He looked at her, expression unreadable. "Because I made the mistake of leaving once. I'm not doing it again." The next morning, Sophia showed up to work like nothing happened. Her dress was modest, her hair in a low bun, no blush or lipstick, professional armor. Lila took one look at her and frowned. "You look like someone on the witness stand." "I feel like one." "Did he yell at you, threaten to sue, force a paternity test?" "No," Sophia said, dropping her bag under the desk. "He offered to disappear." Lila blinked. "Wait, what?" "He gave me full control." "Signed contract and everything?" "Whoa." "Yeah." "That's weirdly mature of him." "I don't trust it." "You shouldn't." They both turned to look toward the glass office across the floor. Damien stood there, sleeves rolled up, tie off, talking into a Bluetooth headset. He didn't look at them, but his eyes flicked briefly toward Sophia, and then back to his screen. Lila nudged her. "Okay, you might not trust him, but he looks like a man who just realized he wants to be a dad, or at least pretend to be one while falling in love with the baby's mother." "Don't." "Too late. I'm writing the fanfic in my head as we speak." Sophia rolled her eyes, but a smile tugged at the corner of her lips, until a voice behind her cleared its throat. She turned. It wasn't Damien. It was a tall man in a tailored gray suit, charming smile, slicked back hair, eyes that held a secret. "Miss Lane?" he asked. "Yes?" He handed her a card. "My name is Elliot Vaughn." "I'm an attorney." She froze. "I represent someone with a very personal interest in your child." Sophia's fingers went numb around the business card. "Elliot Vaughn, family law, clean serif font, embossed, not the kind of card you handed out for parking disputes." "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" she asked. Voice tight. The man gave a polite, almost rehearsed smile. "I represent someone with a personal interest in your unborn child." Lila blinked from her desk. "Okay, wow. That sentence could really benefit from a little context, maybe a hug, and a lawyer present. Ironically, that last one being you." Elliot gave her a sidelong glance, but stayed focused on Sophia. My client would prefer to discuss this in private. It's sensitive. Who's your client? Sophia asked, pulse pounding. I can't disclose that. Then we're done here. She turned back to her monitor, heart jackhammering. Miss Lane. Damien's office door opened. His eyes locked on Elliot. A full beat passed. Then, you're not supposed to be here. Elliot turned, unfazed. Mr. Cole, always a pleasure. Damien stepped out, slow and deliberate. I told your firm to stay away from her. I'm not here for you, Elliot said evenly. I'm here for her and the child she's carrying. Sophia stood slowly, blood draining from her face. You're with him, aren't you? Damien's brows furrowed. Who's him? Elliot hesitated, then gave a quiet, calculated smile. Let's just say, the man who believes the child may be his. The conference room was silent except for the tick of the wall clock. Sophia sat at the far end of the glass table, her fingers gripping a paper cup of water she hadn't touched. Damien stood behind her, arms crossed, posture rigid, like he was holding himself back from launching Elliot straight through the window. Elliot placed a closed file on the table. Let me be clear, my client doesn't want trouble, no lawsuits. No public drama. He simply wants to confirm paternity and open a door for involvement if the test proves positive. And who is this he? Damien snapped. Elliot looked at Sophia, and Sophia looked sick. She whispered, Noah. Damien turned sharply to her. Who the hell is Noah? She pressed her lips together, then spoke quietly. My ex, from before I worked here. We were on and off for almost a year. You told me you hadn't been with anyone else around that time, Damien said. I wasn't sure, she admitted, eyes filled with shame. We broke up, you and I. Happened during that window. I didn't think it could be his. But you told me it wasn't mine, Damien said coldly. With certainty. I didn't want you involved. And he does? Elliot cleared his throat. Noah simply wants a chance to step up. Damien scoffed. Where was this heroism 3 months ago? Sophia stood abruptly, pushing the chair back. Okay, that's enough. I don't need you two throwing testosterone grenades at each other while I sit here like some helpless case file. Damien's jaw flexed. Elliot raised both hands. Understood. I'll relay your response to my client, but he is requesting a paternity test. Sophia took a deep breath. Fine. I'll do it, but not through your firm. I'll handle it my way. Elliot nodded, retrieving the file without opening it. As he walked to the door, he paused. For what it's worth, Miss Lane, I hope this turns out exactly how you want it to. Later that afternoon, Sophia sat on a bench outside the building, eyes closed against the breeze, a bottle of water forgotten beside her. Damien found her there. He didn't sit, just stood a few feet away. You okay? He asked. No, she said truthfully, but I'm managing. He looked out toward the street. Is it him? What? Is the baby his? She hesitated, then shook her head. I don't know. I really don't. He sat down beside her, slow and stiff like the weight of the entire day had started to pull his body down. I want it to be mine, he said finally. Sophia blinked. You do? I didn't at first, he admitted. I panicked. I went full CEO mode. Try to control the narrative, contain the situation. She smiled weakly. You mean act like a controlling robot? He smirked. Exactly. Then the smile faded. But last night, after you left, I looked at that sonogram again. And I realized it's the only picture I have of my kid. Maybe. Sophia looked down. I'm scared, she whispered. He turned to her. Of what? Of being a mother, of not being good enough, of raising a child who'll grow up wondering why their father wasn't around, or worse, why he was. Damien's voice was quiet. I'm scared too, she glanced at him. You don't look scared, she said. I don't show much, he replied. That doesn't mean I don't feel it. Then, with a softness she didn't expect, if this baby's mine, I'll do it right this time. Sophia tilted her head. This time. He looked away, jaw tight. And she suddenly realized there was a story she didn't know yet. The next day, Sophia arrived at the clinic alone. She declined the town car Damien offered, said she wanted to do this on her own terms. But as she waited in the exam room, cold paper under her legs, phone clutched in her lap, she felt more alone than she had in years. The nurse knocked. "We're ready." She stood, legs shaky. Then, just as she opened the door, she nearly ran straight into Damien. He stood there in jeans and a simple sweater. No suit, no armor, looking strangely out of place and painfully human. "I thought you weren't coming," she whispered. "I didn't want you to be alone," he said. "Even if it's not mine, I care." And just like that, her chest tightened. Maybe he didn't say, "I love you." But in his language, that was the closest it ever came. 3 days later, Sophia's phone buzzed while she was brushing her teeth. Subject: paternity results available. From Harse Lab Secure Results. She stared at the screen. Toothbrush in hand, heart threatening to crack her ribs, she clicked and stopped breathing. Paternity match, 99.9% confirmed. But it wasn't Damien's name listed under alleged father. It was Noah Carter. The phone slipped from Sophia's hand and hit the bathroom tile with a sharp crack. Her toothbrush was still in her mouth. She leaned over the sink, staring at her reflection, at the girl who'd told herself for weeks that Damien was the father, the girl who'd needed him to be, who had imagined maybe, just maybe, they could build something, broken pieces and all. But the test result didn't lie. 99.9% Noah Carter. She spat the toothpaste out and sat on the closed toilet lid, trying to breathe through the tightness in her chest. Her limbs felt numb. Her thoughts scrambled. A knock at the door made her flinch. "Soph?" It was Lila. "You okay?" I heard a thud and some aggressive spitting. Sophia opened the door slowly. Lila took one look at her and paled. "Oh, God, tell me you're not dying." "No," Sophia whispered, just emotionally. Lila pulled her into a hug, tight and warm, and exactly what she didn't know she needed. "What happened?" Sophia pulled away and handed her the phone. Lila squinted at the screen, read the result, and froze. "Noah? Wait, the once broke your IKEA chair during an argument about composting Noah?" Sophia gave a shaky laugh. "Now, the very one. I thought you said it wasn't likely. I was wrong." Lila sat down beside her on the edge of the tub. "So what now?" "I don't know," Sophia whispered. "I feel like I betrayed Damien, even though I didn't lie on purpose." "You didn't betray anyone," Lila said firmly. "This changes biology, not history. He still showed up. He still cared." Sophia nodded slowly, but her heart felt like it had split in two, one side facing a past she'd barely survived, the other staring down a future she didn't recognize. And she hadn't even told Damien yet. She didn't text. She didn't call. She showed up. It was just after 7 p.m. when she stood outside Damien's penthouse again, the city skyline flickering behind her like a sea of blinking doubts. He opened the door almost instantly, like he'd been waiting. His expression softened the moment he saw her, but when she didn't smile back, his jaw clenched subtly. Something was wrong. He could feel it. Sophia walked in slowly, holding her phone like it was something sharp. She didn't sit. He didn't speak. Until, finally, "It's Noah." Damien flinched just slightly. She placed the phone on the counter. "You should see it for yourself." He walked over, picked it up. "Read the result. 99.9%. The number seemed to hang in the air like a blade. Neither of them spoke for a long time. When he finally did, his voice was so soft it cracked. "Okay." Sophia looked up. "That's it? What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. Yell? Storm out? Tell me I wasted your time?" He leaned on the counter, eyes down. I've yelled at enough people in my life. I'm tired of being that guy." She stared at him. He looked defeated, but not angry. He looked like someone who'd lost something he didn't know he wanted until it was almost his. "I didn't lie to hurt you," she said quietly. "I know. I just really thought it was you." "So did I," he said. She laughed under her breath. "You sure you're not going to offer to buy the baby a trust fund anyway, just to flex?" That earned the smallest smile from him. "Wouldn't be the worst PR move I've made." They both laughed, briefly, painfully, before silence returned. Then Damien said something she didn't expect. "I still want to be involved," she blinked. "What?" "I know he's the biological father, but that doesn't mean I can't support you. Or the baby, if you'll let me." "Why would you do that?" He shrugged, but his voice cracked when he said, "Because I still care about you. That never depended on DNA." Her breath caught. He meant it, and it was the most terrifying, beautiful thing he could have said. Later that week, Sophia sat across from Noah at a quiet cafe tucked between two bookstores downtown. He was late, still wore the same denim jacket she used to steal when they dated, still had that confident, slightly reckless smirk. Except now he looked nervous. "I didn't think you'd agree to see me," he said. "I didn't either," she admitted. He leaned back, looking at her like a memory he couldn't quite process. "You're glowing. That pregnancy thing is real, huh?" She gave him a flat stare. "Please don't flirt with me while holding an herbal tea." "Right. Sorry, nervous habit." A pause. Then she slid the test result across the table. He stared at it, then exhaled. "So it's really mine?" "Looks that way." Noah leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "Okay. Wow. Is that all you have to say?" He looked at her, more serious now. "I want to try. Soph, I really do. I was a mess back then. But this could be a new start for all of us." She didn't answer right away. "I'm not looking for a new start," she said finally. "I'm looking for stability. You've never been that." "I can be," he said quickly. "Just give me a chance." Sophia sighed, eyes tired. "You're not the only one who wants to be part of this child's life." Noah frowned. "You mean Cole?" "Yes." "Seriously?" He stepped up when he thought it was his. He didn't run. Noah looked away, jaw tight. "You're really going to keep him around?" "I'm going to do what's best for my baby, and for me." "You may be the father, Noah, but that doesn't mean you're the family I want. My child will grow up safe, loved, and stable, even if I have to build that life without you." The tension thickened like rain clouds, and then Noah said something that made her stomach twist. "Look, I wasn't going to bring this up yet, but since you're clearly letting him hang around, I think you should know something about Damien Cole." Sophia froze. Noah leaned in. "He's got secrets. Big ones, the kind that don't go away." Sophia's phone buzzed as she walked away from the cafe. It was a message from an unknown number. "Ask Damien about Marissa before it's too late." Sophia stared at the message. "Ask Damien about Marissa before it's too late." Her grip on the phone tightened as she stepped onto the subway, heart thudding like a warning drum. The name meant nothing to her, and yet everything about it felt like a trap. Who was Marissa? Why now? And why anonymously? She replayed Noah's words at the cafe over and over. "He's got secrets. Big ones." She had dismissed it as bitterness, but now it echoed differently. Damien didn't ask questions when she showed up at his office that afternoon. He was in the middle of a video call, barking orders to a marketing executive, but the moment he saw her, pale, unreadable. He paused. "Give me 10, he said to the screen, then shut the laptop. He waited. She stood there silently, fidgeting with the strap of her bag. When she finally spoke, her voice was low, careful. "Who is Marissa?" It hit him like a punch. He blinked once, but it was enough. The mask slipped. "Though," just for a second. Then his face tightened. "Where did you hear that name?" She didn't answer. Damien stood and walked to the window, hands on his hips. He stared at the city as if it might explain away the ghosts in his chest. "Is she an ex?" Sophia asked. "No." "Is she dead?" He turned, his eyes locked with hers. "Yes." Sophia's breath caught. "And no." That made her step back. "I don't understand." He hesitated, visibly battling with himself, then crossed the room slowly, pulling open a drawer in the sleek obsidian credenza behind his desk. He pulled out a worn, folded photo. "Her name was Marissa Kane," he said. "She was my fiancée." Sophia's heart stuttered. He handed her the photo. It was Damien, younger, smiling, holding hands with a woman on a beach. The sun was setting behind them. Marissa was beautiful, but not like Sophia. She was bolder, glamorous, a model type. And then he said the words that made the air go still. She was pregnant. At least, that's what I believed at first. It was easier than facing the whole truth. They sat in silence, the photo between them on the glass table. "I lost them both," Damien said. 6 years ago. Car accident." Sophia didn't know what to say. He continued, voice hollow. "I was supposed to pick her up that night, but I stayed late at the office. I sent a car instead. It never made it. That's the story I told everyone, the one I repeated until it almost felt true." Her throat tightened. "I blamed myself," he said. "Still do. I couldn't go to the funeral. I couldn't face her family. I shut it all down, buried it with work. Became the man you met. The cold, guarded, untouchable man who rarely smiled and always controlled the narrative." She finally whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because when you told me you were pregnant, all I could think about was her." Sophia looked down at the photo again. "I didn't want to feel it all again," he said, "and I definitely didn't want to lose it again." Tears stung her eyes. "You thought being close to me meant losing me." He nodded slowly. "And now?" Damien looked at her, something soft and raw behind his storm-colored eyes. "Now I know that staying away doesn't stop the pain. It just delays it." Sophia reached across the table and gently touched his hand. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She almost ignored it, until a familiar voice came through. "Soph, it's me, Noah." Her stomach twisted. "Why are you calling me?" "Because you're in over your head. Damien's not telling you everything." She rolled her eyes. "I already know that." "No," Noah said sharply. "I mean the sealed court case. Marissa, Ava. Look it up before it's too late." Click. The line went dead. Sophia stared at the screen, heart pounding. That was the last time she ever heard from Noah Carter, but his words lit a fuse she couldn't ignore. That night, Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, laptop open, heart pounding with guilt and curiosity. She typed, "Marissa Kane, court records, New York." Nothing. She narrowed the search. Added, "Damien Cole." Still nothing relevant. Then, just as she was about to close the tab, a small link at the bottom of a legal aggregator caught her eye. In redo. Cole, D.V. Kane, M. Family Court, filing 2019 sealed. Wait, family court? Not criminal, not accident, family. Sophia frowned. She clicked the link. Sealed, no details, no outcomes, just a date, 3 months before the accident. She sat there frozen. Why would Damien be in family court with the woman he was planning to marry? And what could be sealed in a case like that? The next morning she confronted him. "Why were you in court with Marissa?" He didn't answer at first, but the way his body stiffened, she knew he'd been expecting the question. "I told you everything that matters," he said, voice low. "That's not an answer." "You looked it up?" She crossed her arms. "Someone sent me the record." His face darkened. "Someone?" "I don't know who." Damien exhaled slowly, then sat down. That hearing was a custody dispute. Sophia's chest tightened. He looked up at her. She wasn't pregnant. She already had a daughter. Later I told myself she already had a daughter. that she was only protecting the child from me. That version hurt less than admitting what I had really lost. Sophia blinked. Wait, what? Marissa had a child from a previous relationship. We were fighting for joint custody. Her ex was dangerous. I tried to adopt the girl, give her a better life. It turned into a legal mess. Why didn't you tell me that yesterday? He looked away. She died. The child was taken by her grandparents. I haven't seen her since. Talking about it won't change that. Sophia sat across from him. You still think about her? He nodded. Every day. And if she came back? He hesitated. Would you still want to be part of her life? He looked up, and this time there was no hesitation. Yes. As Sophia left his office, her phone buzzed again. Unknown. Number. You still don't get it. The girl wasn't Marissa's. She was his. Sophia stopped cold. Her entire body went still. The message continued. Damien has a daughter, and he lied to you. Sophia stood frozen in the elevator, the message still glowing on her phone screen. Damien has a daughter, and he lied to you. The walls felt like they were closing in. She replayed his words from less than an hour ago. She wasn't pregnant. She already had a daughter from a previous relationship. We were fighting for joint custody. I haven't seen her since. That had sounded tragic, real, and maybe it was, but now she wasn't sure anymore. Why would someone send her this? Why would anyone lie about something so devastating? And if this anonymous source was telling the truth, if the little girl wasn't Marissa's daughter, but Damien's, that meant the one thing Sophia feared most was already happening. He was deciding which parts of his soul she deserved to see and hiding the rest. Lila didn't say, I told you so, but her face absolutely did. Sophia paced the tiny kitchen in Lila's apartment, while her best friend sat cross-legged on the couch, holding a mug of hot chocolate and a raised eyebrow. This is the fourth message from the same number, Sophia said, holding up her phone. They clearly know too much to be some random troll. Lila took a sip. Or it's someone who wants to sabotage whatever's happening between you and Damien, Noah. Maybe? Sophia shook her head. Noah would have confronted me to my face. He's not subtle. Lila paused, then gave a tiny shrug. Fair. Sophia stopped pacing. I don't know what's worse, she whispered. That Damien might have lied, or that I don't know how to ask without breaking everything. Lila stood and set her mug down. Okay, honesty check. Do you still trust him? Sophia didn't answer. You want to, that much is clear, but do you? Sophia looked down at her hands. I don't know. Lila nodded slowly. Then maybe you don't need to ask him. Sophia looked up. You need to find out for yourself. It took her 3 hours and a crash course in public record databases, but eventually she found it. Birth certificate, Ava Kane Cole. Daub, February 19th, 2017. Mother, Marissa Kane. Father, Damien Cole. Her stomach dropped. There it was. Proof. Not a legal dispute over someone else's child. Not an adoption attempt. His name. On the record. Father. She sat back in her chair. Hands shaking. He had a daughter. A biological one. And he lied to her. Sophia didn't storm into his office the next day. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply walked in with a folder, placed it on his desk, and looked him in the eyes. Damien opened it. When he saw the certificate, his face didn't change, but his body did. He sat back slowly, eyes fixed on the paper like it had just detonated. You lied to me, she said, voice calm but raw. He didn't deny it. I wasn't ready to talk about her. She's your daughter, Damien. I know. You told me she was Marissa's, that you were trying to adopt. He exhaled, eyes heavy. That's what I told myself. I wanted to believe she was Marissa's, that I was only trying to adopt. It was easier than admitting the truth. She blinked. What? He ran a hand over his face, then stood and walked to the window, like the city might give him the right words. I found out Marissa was pregnant 3 months after we started dating. She wasn't even sure if she'd keep the baby at first. He paused. When Ava was born, I didn't feel ready. I threw myself into work, made excuses. And Marissa, she let me. I wasn't listed on the birth certificate until Ava turned 2. That was when I tried to do the right thing. Sophia sat down, heart pounding. So what happened? He turned around and, for the first time, he didn't look like a CEO. He looked like a man haunted by his own failures. Marissa didn't trust me. I gave her every reason not to. When I asked for shared custody, she refused. Took me to court. The judge sided with her. But your name is on the certificate. She added it out of spite, he said. She wanted me to carry the guilt. Sophia stared at him. And the accident? She was driving Ava home from a birthday party, he said, voice hollow. I'd begged her to let me have her that weekend. We fought about it. She refused. Then she died. And the little girl? Sophia asked softly. What happened to her? She survived, he whispered. But she was taken in by Marissa's parents. They cut me out of everything. You never fought it? I tried. But they moved out of state, changed her last name. I haven't seen her in 5 years. Sophia felt her heart shatter just a little more. You told me you weren't a father. I told myself that. Too, he said. Every day since I lost her. That night, Sophia stood at the window of her apartment, watching the lights of the city blink like distant stars. Her thoughts spiraled in circles. Damien had lied. Yes, but he'd also suffered. Could she blame a man for trying to forget the part of himself that hurt the most? Or did lying about his daughter prove that he wasn't ready for the kind of truth her life now demanded? Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. There's still more. Look into Marissa's accident. She wasn't alone in the car that night. Ask yourself why the police never released the full report. Sophia's blood ran cold. She sat down slowly, typing, Marissa Kane Accident Report, New York 2019. The first result opened to a brief article. Single vehicle crash, 2 passengers, 1 deceased at the scene, 2nd transported with minor injuries, child in backseat, survived. Wait, 2nd passenger? Sophia scrolled to the bottom. Sophia. And froze. Passenger name, Damien Cole. Sophia's eyes blurred as she read the line over and over again. Passenger name, Damien Cole. The crash. The one that took Marissa's life and nearly took Ava's. Damien was in the car, but he'd said he wasn't. He told her he was supposed to pick them up, that he'd sent a car instead. He didn't say he was the car, that he had been there when it happened, when she died. Her stomach turned. The lie wasn't just about who he had been. It was about what he was running from. It took her 3 days to call him. 3 days of silence. 3 days of unanswered texts from Damien asking if she was okay. If something was wrong, if he'd done something. 3 days of staring at the crash report and wondering how long he would have let her believe he wasn't there. When she finally agreed to meet, it was her decision. Neutral ground. A small park bench near a fountain tucked into a quiet corner of Central Park. She saw him before he saw her. In a charcoal gray coat, no suit, no security, no phone in hand. Just a man. A man who looked like he was bracing to lose something. Thanks for coming, he said quietly. Sophia sat beside him, arms crossed, expression unreadable. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. No half versions, no edits. Damien nodded, eyes on hers. She pulled out her phone and handed it to him. He read the crash report. His jaw clenched. You were in the car, she said. The night Marissa died. You told me you weren't. Why? He looked down, then back at her. And for once, he didn't try to buy time. He didn't look for the perfect answer. He just spoke. Because I was ashamed. Because I thought if you knew I was there, you'd see me, the way Marissa's family did, like the man who killed her. Sophia didn't breathe. Damien stared at the ground like it might swallow him. We were fighting, he said. That night, She'd come to my place unannounced. Furious, I filed another petition for visitation. She said I was using my money to bully her. I said she was using Ava as leverage. His voice broke slightly. I shouldn't have let her drive. She was upset. But I followed her, got in the passenger seat because I was worried. I thought I could calm her down. A long pause. She ran a red light. A delivery truck hit us on the passenger side. Sophia flinched. You were in the hospital? He nodded. Broken ribs, concussion. I refused to let them keep me overnight. Didn't want my name on the reports. The press didn't find out because I paid to keep it sealed. Why? She whispered. Because Marissa's family already hated me, and if they knew I was in the car, that I'd been arguing with her minutes before she died. His voice trailed off. They would have buried me. Sophia looked at him, eyes wide. You've been carrying this alone all this time? He nodded once. I didn't want your pity. Or your judgment. I'm not judging you, she said softly. You should. She shook her head. I'm not, but I need you to understand something, Damien. This isn't about pity or judgment. This is about trust. He looked at her, eyes heavy. And right now, she added, I don't know if I can trust you. Later that night, Lila opened the door to find Sophia standing there, soaked from a sudden burst of rain, holding takeout and a face that looked like she hadn't slept in days. Oh no, what now? Lila asked, stepping aside. Can I crash here tonight? Obviously. They sat in sweatpants, dipping fries in ice cream. Silence between them except for the occasional slurp of soda. He told you everything? Lila asked. Yeah, Sophia said. And it was a lot, but I believe him. You believe the crash was an accident? I believe he was a wreck, long before the crash ever happened. Lila nodded slowly. And how do you feel? Like I'm falling for someone who doesn't know how to let himself be loved. Lila raised an eyebrow. Girl, that's either incredibly poetic or incredibly doomed. Sophia let out a laugh. Weak, but real. I know. The next day, Sophia walked into work expecting awkwardness, but instead, Damien's office was empty. Blinds drawn, desk untouched, no emails, no calendar updates, no calls. She checked with his assistant. He left for a meeting this morning, the woman said. Didn't say where, just told me not to expect him until tomorrow. But he hadn't texted Sophia, hadn't told her where he was going, not even a word after their last conversation in the park. She hated how quickly her anxiety returned. It wasn't until that evening that she got the call. Blocked number, she hesitated, then picked up. Hello? A voice answered. Female, calm, cold. Miss Lane? Yes. Who is this? You don't know me, but I know Damien. Very well, actually. Sophia stood. What is this? I'm calling to tell you something. About the child, Ava. Sophia's throat went dry. What about her? There was a pause, then the voice said, She's gone? Sophia stood frozen in her living room. What do you mean she's gone? The voice on the other end was steady. She's missing, and Damien is the prime suspect. Click. Line dead. Sophia stared at her phone. The call had ended, but the words echoed like a gunshot inside her skull. She's missing, and Damien is the prime suspect. Her entire body went cold. She redialed the number. Blocked. Tried again. Nothing. For a moment she just stood there, the room around her quiet, too quiet. Then the panic set in. She grabbed her coat. Keys, phone, and bolted out the door. 30 minutes later, she was standing in front of Damien's building, jabbing the penthouse buzzer over and over. Nothing. She tried the concierge. He left early this morning, the man said politely. Said he had personal business. Didn't say when he'd return. What about his driver? Called out sick. Mr. Cole left alone. Alone, just vanished. Lila opened the door with her face still covered in a mud mask. You look like a storm cloud, she said, and not the cute, aesthetic Pinterest kind. Sophia pushed past her, eyes wild. Ava's missing, and someone thinks Damien took her. Lila peeled off the mud mask so fast it left a red streak across her cheek. "Wait, what?" Sophia paced the living room, shaking. "I got a call from a blocked number. A woman. She said Ava's gone, and Damien's a suspect." Lila's face lost all color. "Did you call the police?" "I don't even know where to start," Sophia said, voice rising. "I don't even know if it's real or if someone's setting him up. And I don't know where he is." "Okay, breathe. We're going to figure this out. Do you know anyone in his circle who would actually tell you the truth?" Sophia paused. There was one person. Her heels echoed through the marble halls of Cole Global's legal department. The office was sleek, glassy, intimidating, just like the woman who ran it. Camille Ross, chief legal counsel, sharp as a dagger in stilettos, and also the only person Damien trusted with his real secrets. She found Camille mid-call, pointing aggressively at a whiteboard full of legal notes, her eyes flicking to Sophia only briefly. But her expression changed the second she registered the panic on her face. "I'll call you back," Camille said, ending the call. "Sophia, what happened?" "I need to know something," Sophia said. "Encore. No games, no spin." Camille motioned for her to shut the door. "Okay. Where is Damien?" Camille hesitated. "I can't say." "Then tell me this," Sophia said. "Is he being investigated for kidnapping his daughter?" Camille's silence said more than any words could. Sophia's heart dropped. "Oh my God, it's real." "It's not what you think," Camille said quickly. "Look, I'm not supposed to talk about this, but Damien found out last week that Marissa's parents were planning to leave the country with Ava, permanently, without informing the courts." Sophia blinked. "They're not allowed to do that, are they?" "No," Camille said. "Not without formal custodial permission. Damien may have lost visitation, but as a biological parent, he has legal standing. If they disappear with her, he may never see Ava again. And he told me he was going to stop them." Sophia's breath caught. "You think he took her?" "I think," Camille said slowly, "he's trying to protect her. But the line between protection and abduction, that's where it gets murky, especially in court." Sophia felt dizzy. If that little girl is with him right now, he could go to prison. Meanwhile, 200 miles away. Damien sat in a cabin deep in the Catskills, watching through the foggy window as a little girl in a yellow coat chased a butterfly in the field behind the house. Ava. His Ava. She was taller now, 7, long brown hair, same sharp blue-gray eyes as his. She didn't remember him, not really, but she'd smiled when he told her stories. She laughed at his terrible drawing of a horse, and she let him braid her doll's hair while pretending not to notice his hands were shaking. He hadn't told her why she was here. He'd only said they were going on an adventure. And she believed him. Damien looked down at his phone. 14 missed calls. All from Camille, and one from Sophia. He didn't open it. Couldn't. Not yet. Because the second he heard her voice, he'd have to face the truth. That everything he was doing, maybe even everything he was risking, could destroy the only person left who still believed in him. Back in the city. Sophia sat on Layla's couch, Camille's words swirling in her head like stormwater. He's trying to protect her. The line between protection and abduction, it's blurry. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again, she answered, heart pounding. "Stop looking for him," the voice said, the same cold female tone. "Who is this?" "You don't understand what he's done." "Tell me then." A pause, then a whisper. "Ask him what happened to the first Ava, the one no one talks about." Click, call ended. Sophia's hand dropped slowly. Wait, the first Ava? She opened her laptop, hands trembling, and searched Ava Cole, New York obituaries. One entry popped up. The first Ava, Ava Marin Cole, Damien's daughter with Elizabeth, died in 2012 at age 3. Sophia gasped, covering her mouth. Ava? Died? But then, Who was the little girl now? Sophia stared at the screen like it might disappear if she blinked. Ava Marin Cole, 2012, age 3. Beloved daughter of Damian Cole and Elizabeth Marin Cole. Tragically passed due to complications from a congenital heart defect. Survived by her father, Elizabeth, not Marissa. Another woman, another past, another child. He had another daughter, and she died. But he never told her, never mentioned it. Her skin prickled. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. The room tilted. She barely registered Lila's voice behind her. "Soph, you okay?" "No." She clicked the article closed, then opened the birth record for the current Ava. The second Ava, born in 2017 and raised by Marissa, appeared 5 years later. 5 years after the first Ava died, same first name. Same father, different mother. Why would someone name another child after the one they lost? Unless they were trying to replace her. Sophia didn't sleep that night. She lay awake in Lila's guest room, scrolling back through every moment she'd ever shared with Damian, every conversation, every silence, every question he'd deflected. She remembered the way his face darkened when she first brought up Ava, the grief, the hesitation. But she never expected this. By morning, she was done waiting. She booked a rental car, packed her things, left Lila a note, and she drove north. The road narrowed into dense trees and cracked asphalt. By the time she pulled up to the cabin, Camille had helped her locate through a contact in security. Sophia's hands were shaking on the wheel. She wasn't sure what she'd find. She wasn't sure who she'd find. She stepped out into the chill mountain air, every breath a sharp inhale of fear, then laughter. Childlike. She followed the sound around the cabin to the back. There she was, a little girl in a pale yellow coat, arms outstretched, spinning in the grass. And there he was, Damian, kneeling beside her, trying to tie one of her shoes while she kept wriggling away. For a split second, it looked like joy. Then he saw her, and everything changed. They sat inside the cabin in strained silence, Ava watching cartoons on a faded couch, while Sophia and Damian stood in the tiny kitchen. "You followed me," he said quietly. "I had to. I wasn't running from you." "No," she said. "You were running from the law." He looked away. "Damian, what were you thinking? You can't just take her." "They were going to disappear with her, Sophia. I didn't have time for court orders and negotiations. I had one shot to see her again." "I know," she said, voice breaking. "I get that, I do." He looked at her. But I found something," she said. "Or something you never told me?" His expression shifted. "What did you find?" She pulled up the obituary on her phone and turned it to him. He stared at the screen. The air between them thinned. "I'm not angry that you lost a child," she said softly. "I'm angry that you never told me you had one, that you named this little girl after her, that you lied again." He slowly set the phone down. "That's not what happened." "Then tell me." Damian exhaled. "The first Ava, she was my daughter, mine and Elizabeth's. We were young, newly married. She was everything to me. But she was sick, born with a hole in her heart." He swallowed hard. "She died during surgery. I was in the hospital room. I held her after." Sophia's eyes burned with tears. "And Elizabeth?" "Left me 6 months later, said she couldn't look at me without seeing loss." Sophia's heart ached, but she held her ground. "And this Ava?" He looked over at the little girl on the couch. "She's not a replacement," he said. "I didn't name her. Marissa did?" Sophia blinked. "Wait, what?" "Marissa knew about the first Ava. I told her everything. When our daughter was born, she said naming her Ava would be healing for me. Closure." He gave a bitter laugh. She always believed in poetic symmetry. Sophia sat down slowly. She didn't know whether to feel relieved or more disturbed. "Do you think that's healthy? To carry the name of a ghost into a new life?" "I didn't choose it," he said. "But it stuck." They sat in silence. Then he said something that made her stomach turn. "She doesn't remember me, Sophia, but I remember everything. Her laugh, her first steps, her favorite color. I watched her grow for 2 years before Marissa shut the door on me. Sophia looked over at the child again. She was beautiful, bright, innocent, but then something clicked in her mind. A line in the crash report. Passenger, Damian Cole. Injuries. Mild, but the report never mentioned a child seat, no booster. She was barely 2 when the crash happened, Sophia said aloud. Damian blinked. Yeah, why? She would have been in a car seat. She was, he said. No. The crash report says you and Marissa were the only passengers. Ava's name was never listed. Damian froze. Sophia stood slowly, her chest tightening. Why wouldn't they mention her if she survived? I don't know. But something in his voice faltered. You do, she whispered. Sophia, you lied again about something else. I can feel it. He looked at her, torn. I wasn't the only one in the hospital after that crash, he said quietly. What are you talking about? Marissa was unconscious. I was injured. And Ava... He closed his eyes. Ava was gone, missing. They told me she wasn't in the car. Sophia's skin went cold. Wait, what? She was supposed to be with Marissa, but when they pulled the wreckage apart, she wasn't there. They told me she survived, but I never saw her at the crash site. I never held her again. I just believed what they wanted me to believe. I was grieving. I was scared. Sophia's head spun. You think, she whispered, you think the second Ava, the one Marissa raised, might not be who she seems. You think she could actually be the first Ava, your daughter with Elizabeth? He nodded slowly. I don't know who she is anymore. Suddenly, from the living room, the child's voice. Mommy? Sophia turned, heart in her throat, but Ava wasn't looking at her. She was staring at a framed photo on the mantel of Elizabeth. Sophia's heart stopped. The child stood by the fireplace, tiny finger pointing to the photo frame on the mantel, the old picture of Elizabeth Marin Cole, Damian's ex-wife, the woman who'd left him after the death of their first daughter. Mommy? Sophia turned slowly. Ava, she said gently. Walking toward her. What did you say? The little girl glanced up, confused but certain. That's my mommy. Damian stood behind Sophia, frozen. She's never seen that photo before, he whispered. Sophia crouched beside the child. Sweetheart, where have you seen this woman before? She used to sing to me, Ava said, tilting her head like she was trying to remember more clearly. At night, before bed, she smelled like flowers. Sophia looked up at Damian. His face had gone pale. She couldn't remember that, he said, more to himself than to her. She was barely a toddler when Elizabeth left. But if this is true, Sophia said, then she didn't leave you, and she didn't take the baby, which means... Her eyes widened. Ava was never with Marissa. Sophia sat in the corner of the cabin, hands shaking as she pieced it all together aloud. When Marissa died in the car crash, you assumed Ava had been with her, but she wasn't. She was missing, Damian said. Voice flat, staring blankly at the fire. Then Marissa's parents showed up with her, said she survived. You believe them? He didn't respond. Sophia leaned forward. They lied, Damian. They must have. They had Ava all along, but not the second Ava, the first. That's not possible, he muttered. She was 3 when she died. Or maybe they made you think she died. Damian stood suddenly, knocking the poker from the side of the fireplace. Why would they do that? He snapped, his voice cracking with rage and disbelief. Why would anyone fake the death of a child? To take her from you, Sophia cried, because Elizabeth left, because they blamed you, because they wanted control. A long, brutal silence fell. Only the wind outside dared to speak. Then Sophia whispered, this girl, the Ava raised by Marissa, she could be the first Ava, the daughter you had with Elizabeth. The Ava you thought you buried, Damien. She might be alive." His knees buckled as he sat hard in the wooden chair behind him. "I buried her." "No," Sophia said. "You buried a lie." 2 hours later, Ava was asleep in the loft upstairs, curled around a stuffed fox Sophia had found in her bag. Damien sat on the porch, staring out at the moonlit trees, his hands gripping the arms of the chair like he might fly off the planet. Sophia came out quietly, wrapped in a blanket, and sat beside him. "I checked the obituary again," she said. "There was no funeral photo, no public grave, just a private note saying, 'Service held with family.'" Damien nodded slowly. "I let them handle it. I didn't want to see her that way. I couldn't." "Do you still have contact with Elizabeth?" He shook his head. "She vanished. Changed numbers, no trace." Sophia glanced toward the window where the little girl's reflection barely glimmered. "Then we need proof. DNA. A test. And if it's true," he asked quietly, "if it's true—" Sophia looked at him, her voice full of something between awe and fear. "Then you've been raising your first daughter this whole time, and no one ever told you." The next day, they drove back to the city. Sophia sat in the back seat with Ava, keeping her busy with coloring books and snacks. The child didn't seem afraid, just curious, comfortable. Like somewhere in her soul, she knew she was safe with them. Damien didn't speak much, but he kept glancing into the rearview mirror, as if he still couldn't believe what he was seeing. They arrived at the pediatric clinic under a false name. Sophia had made the appointment. The nurse swabbed both Damien and Ava in under 5 minutes. "It'll take 48 hours, she said. "We'll send the results electronically." Sophia thanked her. Ava gave a small wave as they left the room. They stayed in a rented apartment near the clinic, far from his penthouse. Damien wasn't ready to face the board, the press, or Camille. Not until he had answers. That night, Ava fell asleep on the couch after watching a nature documentary with a giraffe that made her laugh so hard she snorted. Sophia and Damien stood by the kitchen island, the glow of the city barely reaching their quiet little corner of it. "She trusts you," Sophia said. He looked down. "I don't deserve it." "You never gave yourself the chance to." He turned to her. "You think I could really be her father?" "I think," she said softly. "You already are." Cliffhanger. 2 days later. Sophia opened her email and froze. The subject line, "Paternity results. Ava Cole." She clicked. The result loaded slowly. Paternity match 99.99%. Damien Cole. Confirmed biological father. But before she could breathe, another line caught her eye. Maternal DNA inconsistency detected biological mother, not Marissa Kane. Sophia blinked, then stared at the footnote. Maternal match confirmed, Elizabeth Marin Cole. Sophia read the line again. Maternal match confirmed, Elizabeth Marin Cole. The phone almost slipped from her hand. It was real. The impossible truth. The little girl in the other room wasn't just Ava. She was the Ava. Damien's first child. The daughter he had mourned, buried, lost, and now found. He stood at the window, silent, barely breathing as she told him. "I don't understand," Damien said, his voice hollow. "They told me she died." "They showed me the paperwork." Sophia nodded slowly, heart breaking for him. "They lied. Everything you've believed for the last 7 years. They built it to take her from you." He ran both hands through his hair, staggered back, dropped into the chair behind him. "All this time," he whispered. She was alive, and I didn't even know her." "You do now," Sophia said gently, "and she knows you." A sound escaped his throat. Not a sob, not quite a gasp, but something deeper. Raw. From the place inside, a man that gets buried when grief becomes too much. "How do I tell her?" he asked, broken. "How do I look her in the eyes and say, 'I thought you were dead'?" "You don't," Sophia said softly. "You look her in the eyes and say, 'I'm here now, and I'm never leaving again.' Her voice shook but steadied as she added, "And when my baby is born, I want to be able to say the same thing, that they'll never be alone, that they'll have a father figure who stays." They brought Camille in that night. She didn't ask for explanations. She already knew something was wrong. Sophia handed her the test results and the brief court history she'd compiled, the forged death certificate, the inconsistencies, the adoption that had never been formally processed through any state agency. Camille's jaw clenched. They forged everything. They made him believe she was gone, Sophia said, and then gave her a new life under a new name, same first name, to control the narrative. Damien sat in silence as Camille stared at the files, then looked up. "We need to go to the authorities," he shook his head. "No?" Camille frowned. "Damien, no lawyers, no press. Not yet. I need to talk to her parents first." That Sunday afternoon, Damien stood on the front porch of the Kane estate, a sprawling property in Westchester with white columns and perfect hedges. He hadn't seen them since the funeral. The woman who opened the door looked exactly the same, Marissa's mother, cold and elegant, dressed like she was hosting a charity gala. She froze when she saw him. Then, "You shouldn't be here." "I'm not leaving until I get answers," he said. She tried to shut the door. He stopped it with his hand. "I know who she is," he said softly. "I know Ava's mine, Elizabeth's daughter. Not Marissa's, and I know you helped take her." Something flickered in her eyes. Fear, guilt, bitterness. "You weren't supposed to know." "Why?" he asked. "Why would you do that to me?" She looked away. "Because Marissa couldn't have children, not after the accident. It broke her. She loved Ava. She loved her more than anything. And we gave her a life. We gave you a clean break." "You stole my daughter," Damien said, voice low, trembling. "You made me believe she was dead. You weren't stable. You were self-destructing. You don't get to decide what kind of father I would have been," he said. "And you sure as hell don't get to rename my child and give her to someone else like a doll." Her hand trembled as she closed the door. Not defiant. Not angry. Just defeated. That night, Damien told Ava the truth, as much as her little heart could carry. He sat beside her on the couch, took her tiny hand, and said, "You're very special, Ava, and there's something I need to tell you." Sophia stood nearby, silent, watching as the man who once built walls higher than anyone could climb finally found the strength to open a door. "I thought you were gone," he said, voice breaking. "But here you are. You're the bravest girl I've ever known, and I'm the luckiest man in the world to be your dad." Ava looked up at him, then leaned forward, wrapped her arms around his neck, and whispered something only he could hear. "I missed you." Weeks passed. Legal proceedings moved quietly, with Camille working behind the scenes to ensure everything was done cleanly, respectfully, and without dragging Ava into any media spotlight. The courts confirmed Damien's biological paternity, and Sophia testified on his behalf. Marissa's parents, fearing full criminal prosecution, agreed to relinquish all custody claims in exchange for a sealed settlement. Damien refused to press charges. He didn't care about vengeance. He had what mattered: his daughter. One afternoon, in a sunlit park near the river, Sophia and Damien sat on a blanket while Ava chased bubbles in the grass. "She's different now," Damien said, watching her. "She laughs more." "She feels safe," Sophia said. Damien looked at her, truly looked. "You made this happen," he said. "You found her. You fought for her." "I didn't do it for her," he blinked. "I did it for you." His hand reached for hers. "You changed everything," he whispered, "and I don't want to lose you now." "You won't," she said, eyes shining. "Not again." Then, finally, he leaned in and kissed her, not with hesitation, not with regret, but with the kind of love that survives everything. Sophia placed a hand over her belly, a quiet smile crossing her lips. The baby wasn't his by blood, But maybe, just maybe, family was more than DNA. And Damien seemed ready to prove it. That night, back in her apartment, Sophia looked out the window. The city pulsed below her. Ava was safe. Damien was healing, and she was no longer just someone's assistant. She was part of a family she'd helped put back together. Her phone buzzed. A message from Damien. "Dinner Friday? Just us. No secrets this time." She smiled, replied, "You're on." The end. Now, tell me, if someone you loved kept a painful secret like this, would you walk away or help them heal? Let me know what you would do in the comments. And if this story touched your heart in any way, leave a like, subscribe for more stories like this, and rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments. I'd love to know how it made you feel. You matter, your voice matters, and your presence here means more than you know. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.